Welcome to Life Tells Stories, the channel that brings real-life narratives to the forefront, encouraging us to reflect, learn, and grow. Today, we have a powerful and emotional story to share, a story that dives deep into the complexities of prejudice and the fight for justice in an educational setting. Before we embark on this eye-opening journey, I want to ask you, have you ever faced discrimination or witnessed it in your life? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel and give this video a thumbs up if you find value in stories that matter. The sun was just beginning to rise over Westfield High, casting a warm glow on the school's red brick facade. Jasmine King, a bright and ambitious student, stood at the entrance, clutching her backpack with a mixture of excitement and apprehension. Today marked a new beginning, a chance to leave behind the insecurities of her old school. With a deep breath, she stepped through the doors, ready to embrace the possibilities ahead. However, as she entered her new English classroom, that excitement quickly faded. The atmosphere felt thick with tension, like an impending storm. Students shuffled in their seats, whispering nervously to one another as they awaited the arrival of their teacher. When Miss Roberts walked in, her stern expression and sharp gaze immediately commanded attention. Jasmine could sense that this was not a teacher who tolerated mistakes or misbehavior. She embodied authority and seemed unapproachable. Jasmine took a seat near the back of the class, hoping to remain unnoticed. As she surveyed her classmates, she noted the mix of curiosity and wariness in their eyes. Some students shot her friendly smiles, while others glanced at her with suspicion, as if trying to gauge her worth. The pressure of first impressions weighed heavily on her. Would she fit in? Would she be accepted? As the bell rang, signaling the start of class, Jasmine felt a knot tighten in her stomach. Miss Roberts launched into a lecture, her voice crisp and commanding. The lesson was about the themes of power and oppression in literature, yet Jasmine couldn't shake the feeling that the real power struggle was happening right in front of her. She longed for a chance to share her thoughts, but the initial interactions with her peers and teacher left her feeling more like an outsider than ever before. Days turned into weeks, and the initial excitement of a new school began to wear off for Jasmine. Each day, she entered Miss Roberts' classroom, bracing herself for the familiar condescension that awaited her. Miss Roberts' biases were becoming more apparent. The way she spoke to Jasmine was laced with subtle insults disguised as concern. "Are you sure you can keep up with the curriculum, Jasmine?" Miss Roberts would say, her tone dripping with false sweetness. The dismissive remarks were debilitating, making Jasmine feel isolated and insecure. The weight of discrimination can be suffocating, and she often found herself questioning her abilities, even in subjects she excelled in. Jasmine's classmates had started to notice the teacher's unfair treatment. Some, like Sarah, would offer her supportive smiles, while others watched with amused expressions, relishing the power dynamic that unfolded daily. A growing tension filled the room, and it was clear that the atmosphere was toxic. Students began to pick sides. Some rallied around Jasmine, while others were complicit in their silence, choosing to align themselves with Miss Roberts' authority. The psychological impact of such an environment began to take its toll on Jasmine. She felt as if she were battling a shadow, one that sought to diminish her spirit and her voice. The isolation was painful, yet Jasmine resolved to remain strong. She focused on her studies, determined not to let the hostility around her extinguish her light. The pivotal moment arrived during a class discussion on asterisk, To Kill a Mockingbird asterisk. Jasmine had spent hours preparing her thoughts on the racial injustices depicted in the novel, ready to contribute her insights. She raised her hand, heart pounding with anticipation, eager to share her perspective. However, as she opened her mouth to speak, Miss Roberts' sharp voice cut through the air. "Let's stick to the themes intended by the author, shall we?" The dismissal stung, and laughter rippled through the classroom. Jasmine's heart sank. Her thoughts were not only ignored but ridiculed. Miss Roberts suggested that Jasmine's insights were merely a reflection of her personal agenda, rather than a legitimate interpretation of the text. This moment marked a turning point for Jasmine. open discrimination had reared its ugly head, and the impact was profound. The subtle microaggressions that had been building up now manifested in a full-blown confrontation. The other students watched in a mix of horror and intrigue, some too afraid to voice their support for Jasmine. In that moment, Jasmine felt her voice stifled, not only by Miss Roberts, but by the systemic issues that allowed such behavior to persist. The reality of educational environments can often mask discrimination behind the guise of authority. This chapter highlights how the effects of microaggressions can ripple through a classroom, affecting not only the targeted student, but also creating a culture of fear and silence. Despite the continual challenges, Jasmine refused to let the negativity define her. With every insult, she found a spark of determination igniting within her. She would not allow Miss Roberts to silence her. Instead of retreating into silence, Jasmine committed herself to her studies with newfound intensity. As the weeks progressed, Jasmine began to realize that education was her refuge, a place where she could channel her frustrations into success. She spent hours in the library, researching not only for her assignments, but also exploring topics that resonated with her sense of justice. The more she learned, the stronger her resolve became. During this time, Jasmine found solace in her friendship with Sarah, who supported her through the storm. Together, they studied late into the evenings, discussing the themes of their coursework and venting frustrations about their experiences in Miss Roberts' class. Jasmine's quiet strength shone through as she prepared for an upcoming group project, focusing on her studies and finding empowerment in knowledge. The long-awaited group project was finally announced, and Jasmine saw it as an opportunity to showcase her skills. However, Miss Roberts' method of assigning groups seemed designed to set her up for failure. Jasmine was paired with a few classmates who had already shown indifference to her struggles, while others were encouraged by Miss Roberts' seemingly arbitrary placements. As the project unfolded, Jasmine faced significant challenges. While her teammates collaborated and contributed, Miss Roberts lurked nearby, scrutinizing Jasmine's every move. The teacher's comments became increasingly critical, undermining Jasmine's confidence. It felt as though Miss Roberts was eager to catch her making a mistake. Yet, rather than be discouraged, Jasmine embraced the challenge. She took the lead in organizing the project, ensuring that her teammates understood the importance of their topic. With a mixture of grit and grace, she navigated group dynamics, fostering collaboration and mutual respect where she could. The project soon became a battleground for Jasmine's struggles and triumphs. She poured her heart into the research, uncovering the historical context of racial injustice and crafting a compelling narrative. As she shared her findings with her group, Jasmine began to win over some of her peers. They started to see her passion and intelligence, and the tide slowly began to turn. The day of the presentation arrived, and Jasmine felt a mix of excitement and anxiety. This was her chance to speak out about the themes of racial injustice she had come to understand so deeply. Standing in front of the class, she took a deep breath, reminding herself of all the hard work she had put into this moment. However, as she began to articulate her insights, Miss Roberts' interruptions began again. "Can you clarify that?" "And I think you're misinterpreting the text," echoed in Jasmine's ears, each remark slicing through her confidence. The atmosphere in the classroom shifted. The eyes of her classmates were glued to the teacher, waiting for her next move. Despite the blatant disrespect, Jasmine stood her ground. She composed herself, reiterating her points with clarity and conviction. But the battle between her and Miss Roberts intensified, with the teacher belittling her contributions in front of the entire class. The ridicule was palpable, and Jasmine could feel her heart racing, yet she refused to let Miss Roberts' disdain extinguish her voice. The tension in the classroom reached its peak when Mr. King, Jasmine's father, unexpectedly walked in. The door creaked open, and all eyes turned toward him. His presence filled the room, radiating an air of authority that instantly shifted the dynamics. "Is everything all right here?" he asked, his voice calm but firm. The surprise was evident on Miss Roberts' face, and she attempted to brush off the situation with a dismissive wave of her hand. However, the discomfort in the room was palpable, as Mr. King's protective instincts ignited an urgent confrontation. Miss Roberts launched into a diatribe about Jasmine's attitude and how it was disruptive to the class. Mr. King listened attentively, his brow furrowed with concern. "What specific actions led you to that conclusion?" he asked, his tone unwavering. The teacher faltered, struggling to provide examples as Mr. King's gaze pierced through her defenses. When Mr. King confronted Miss Roberts, the truth about Jasmine's struggles began to emerge. The teacher's facade crumbled as he eloquently pointed out her discriminatory behavior, forcing the classroom to confront the uncomfortable reality of prejudice. "You're not just failing Jasmine, you're failing the entire class by not allowing diverse perspectives to flourish," Mr. King stated, his voice resonating with authority. The impact of his words reverberated through the classroom, prompting whispers and gasps from students who had witnessed Jasmine's treatment. The confrontation opened the floodgates for others to express their thoughts. Students who had remained silent began to share their own experiences of feeling marginalized. The atmosphere shifted from one of fear to one of solidarity as the class collectively acknowledged the importance of standing up for one another. Before we move on to our final chapter, we want to hear from you. What do you think of Mr. King's actions? Have you ever stood up against injustice? Share your thoughts in the comments below. In the aftermath of the confrontation, Jasmine's classmates began to reevaluate their perceptions of her. The solidarity that emerged within the classroom highlighted the power of community and support. Students who had once avoided her now approached Jasmine, offering encouragement and friendship. The dynamics of peer relationships shifted dramatically as students rallied around Jasmine, illustrating the strength found in unity. Class discussions began to change, becoming more open and inclusive as students felt empowered to voice their thoughts. Jasmine's resilience inspired her classmates to reflect on their own actions and biases. Conversations about respect and empathy flourished, leading to a greater understanding of the struggles faced by their peers. As Jasmine looked around the room, she felt a sense of belonging that had eluded her since the first day of school. The transformation was profound. Together, the students began to create a culture of support where everyone's voice mattered. The story concludes with Jasmine finally feeling appreciated and recognized by her peers. The journey had been long and fraught with challenges, but she emerged stronger and more resilient than ever. Her experience became a powerful testament to the fight against injustice. As she reflected on her journey, Jasmine understood that her struggles had taught her valuable lessons about advocacy and courage. She realized that speaking up was not only about herself, but also about those who might still be suffering in silence. This story serves as a reminder that change is possible when individuals stand firm against prejudice. Jasmine's future looked brighter as she embraced her identity and the power of her voice. The challenges she faced only strengthened her resolve to fight for justice, making her a beacon of hope for others. In conclusion, the story of Jasmine King serves as a poignant reminder that injustice should never be tolerated. Her journey illustrates the power of resilience and the importance of support from family and friends in overcoming adversity. The actions of Mr. King and the transformation of the classroom highlight that change begins with courage. Courage to speak out, to confront biases, and to advocate for oneself and others. If this story resonated with you, we invite you to subscribe to *** Life Tells Stories ***, like this video, and hit the notification bell to stay updated on more impactful narratives. Your voice matters, and together we can foster a community that stands up against injustice. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next video. Together, let's continue to share stories that inspire change.